know if you've watched any of these soap operas or telenovelas where this millionaire or billionaire is really sick. So that is the time where all of these um, bad people come and ask for signatures. You see, you're giving away all your fortunes because you're unwell. Um, but technically speaking, when we are unwell, there's a certain amount of truth in that. Meaning, when we are unwell, we cannot really think straight, so we make decisions pretty rashly, and that happens with computers as well. If you can actually attack the computer, right? Um, Give it something so that the computer is unwell, the computer might not have the same level of thinking, so we can attack it some more, right? We can either attack it just for the sake of attacking, so that it's ruined. We can attack it, not we, hackers, horny people, right? Attack it for the sake of using it as some kind of, you just give it a software, run it, and then give the result to us, in which case we won't have to use our computing power, right? Or we might attack it because the bad people might attack it because they want information, right? Anyway, um, attacking is one way to actually gain some kind of satisfaction. It's considered a cyber crime, right? So there's several ways of attacking, right? For example, we can give it a kind of, like the millionaire in the telenovela, we can give it some kind of ailment, right? So in terms of computers, right, these ailments or diseases are called malware, right? Which is short for malicious software, right? Malicious software means it is software which is malicious, it's dangerous, right? Generally speaking, software is a list of instructions. It will tell hardware what to do, right? So the list of instructions are good instructions, like do this diligently, go and bathe, and do your homework, stuff like that. Whereas malware will give you bad instructions, like for example, start smoking pot, for example, right? So bad instructions. And the thing about these computer instructions, which is called computer programs, is that they tend to be very long, right? And every now and then, every few lines or so, you can actually insert bad instructions. And so these bad instructions are called malware, collectively called malware. There are several kinds of malware, right? If you look through your slides, there is this thing called spyware. What the hell am I spelling? Right? Spyware, which is software that spies on you, meaning to say that it somehow takes some information from you without you knowing. Spying. Okay, so there are two types of spyware which is touched upon in your computer in your slides. Will be first adware. Adware have specific types of spyware which tracks mostly your interests, usually via browsing habits, right? Using browsing habits, they can track your interests and so give you targeted ads, right? Or this guy might be interested in football, so I'm going to send him advertisement about jerseys, for example, right? Next is a keylogger. Right? Keylogger actually records keystrokes, right? So this is another kind of spyware. It just resides in your computer, and when you actually key in things, for example passwords, username, it actually records this and then sends it to a server, right? So of course the server is controlled by someone bad, horny people, right? So these are types of spyware. Aside from that, we also have what we call viruses. I think you're very familiar with this. I mean, a lot of people when they feel the computer is different, it's slow or something, they just say, maybe there's a virus, right? So I would like to think that you're very familiar with viruses. Again, is a root software, and viruses are, you can say, they are pretty advanced in the sense that viruses will need the user to actually activate it, meaning you without knowing might have said okay or next or something, in which the button is something else. Meaning when you create a program, you don't really have to name the button yes attack me or something like that. Yes, I know that this is a virus and I want it to attack me. You don't have to name your button like that. You can name your button anything. You can put it next or yes, I would like to donate or something. You can name your button anything at all. So sometimes unknowingly we click on something a link, an attachment, a button, and we activate a virus. It's malicious code, right? And it does a lot of things, right? A virus will have some capabilities, right? Different kinds of virus have different kinds of capabilities, right? And this is otherwise known as the payload, which is the ability of the virus. What can the virus do? What can the virus potentially do, right? And of course, basically the virus replicates itself, right? And does bad things. So it can reside in many locations. It's like, you have some kind of disease, and generally this disease wants to keep on growing and healthy and doing whatever it does best, which is bad for you, right? So it will find ways to actually lurk and hide itself. So there's several places where it can hide, in which we actually relate these places of hiding to the type of viruses. Some viruses attach itself to file, right? So if you open the file, the virus gets active, for example. Some viruses attaches itself to the boot section, meaning when you switch on your computer, basically that's called booting, you see. And to boot, there are certain files which will become active. So some viruses stay there, boot sector virus, right? Some viruses are macro viruses and etc. You can actually read through your slides. There are different kinds of viruses, right? Now, okay, and then some viruses, of course, different viruses are triggered by different things. Some viruses are called time bombs, for example, right? Because basically these are viruses that stay dormant. They just, I'm inactive, I'm just chillaxing, you know, and it becomes active only when a certain event triggers it. Let's say, for example, the virus creator can say, once, if a certain date, Friday the 13th or something, you become active, right? So that is a time bomb, for example. Right. Now, when or if you contracted the disease in real life, right? What happens that certain things can happen to you. For example, you might lose the appetite. You might lose your appetite. You might be cold or hot, or you might be hot, right? Or you might have headaches or stomach ache or aching in different parts of your body. Now, similarly, when a computer contracts a virus, different things can happen to it. For example, you might develop some kind of visual interference. The effects can be visual, it can be sound, right? It can be in the forms of storage or processing, right? So needless to say, visual and sound are both output, right? Input is something that you control. The rest are, meaning you are the one giving input to the computer, whereas output, storage, and processing are done by the computer. So the virus can actually affect these things. For example, they might be strange visuals on your camera, right? Or pop-ups, or strange sounds on your camera, or it's harder for you to save files, or your files suddenly become bigger, right? Or your computer becomes slower, right? That is processing, right? So strange visual or sound, right? Strange pop-ups, strange sounds, hard to save file, or files become bigger or smaller or missing, right? Or your computer becomes slower and slower and slower, right? So these are just some examples of you contracting a virus. Now again, we say, why send a virus to someone? One of the reasons, of course, is to try and get information. Why send malware? Try and get information. Another is, of course, you can also control the computer. Now, a virus, like I said earlier, is something advanced. Other than a virus, there's something slightly a bit simpler than a virus. It's called a worm, right? And a worm is not as active as a virus. Um, Basically, it takes up bandwidth or RAM space or hard disk space. It takes up space. That's what worms do. They replicate and replicate. And a worm is something that you don't have to actually click OK or next or attachment or whatever. Meaning a worm will just get there and be active, right? So in a sense, it's less dangerous than a virus, but I guess it's more annoying than a virus because you hardly know that it has already been activated. You have no control, right? Although viruses also you only have the control of activating it, right? Anyway, people take control of other people's computers for different reasons. One of it is of course stealing information. Other than that, you can actually control people's computers, right? Um, for various reasons. For example, you might want to do this thing. It's called the distributed denial of service attack. Distributed denial of service. Okay, but before we get to distributed denial of service, we get to denial of service attack first. Now, um, of course, I think you'll notice that a bigger capacity hard disk will come at a bigger price, more expensive, right? The same goes for hard disk in the internet. The same goes for speed of the internet. You know, if you want speedier connection, you pay more, something like that, right? Now, if you want a lot of people to come to your website, you have to purchase more bandwidth, right? Let's say 10,000 people compared to 100,000 people can access your website. You must pay more. Now, hackers, on the other hand, or crackers, or bad people in general, they can actually do this attack called the denial of service, meaning your website actually has the quota they actually pay for each month or a year, each year, for example. A quota as to how many people can actually be at your website, visiting this and that, clicking this and that. Now, imagine at a store, for example, right? This is a store that, let's say a store selling Nike products, and you really like Nike products and you want to buy something inside, but the store can only fit 100 people in. So now there's already 100 people, so you're denied service, meaning you cannot get in. You're denied service, right? Which is fine if all the people are actually wanting, all the people inside the store actually want to buy or browse things. It's okay. But what if there's one smart ass guy walks in with all of these mannequins, all of these dummies, like he has like 50 dummies. So instead of 100 people inside, you actually have 50 people and 50 dummies, 50 mannequins, right? So this is not very fun. You're denied service because there are fake stuffs inside the store, which are not really browsing or buying things, right? So websites work like that as well. You can actually hack into a website and create, or a server in general, right? Create fake requests, meaning you deny service to people who legitimately want to go inside and browse and do something with the server, right? Needs a service from the server, denied service because they are fake services, fake requests from fake clients, meaning it's just a software that runs. Now, with simpler servers, you can do a simple denial of service, meaning you can just run it from your computer. But with bigger servers, for example Google servers, Facebook servers, you need to have a more concerted attack. So what happens is that hackers will hack into different computers, right? Different computers. Now once they hack into different computers, they gain control. These computers are then known as zombies. Right? Once hackers have these zombies, they can now put bad software. It's called a bot. Right? Meaning it's very simple software that runs so that this computer can actually run that software and be under the control, right? So all of these computers that has the bot will now become part of what we call the botnet. And this is the control of the botnet. Now instead of the processing power of one computer, let's say imagine this is 2 gigs processing power, 2 gigs processor, dual core, 2 gigs, 2 gigs. Now with the combined power, the hacker will have 6 gigs of processing power. Very powerful, right? Maybe not very powerful, but if he gains control of more computers, he can get up to supercomputer level of processing. Then he can hack into a bigger server, right? So that is the distributed denial of service. It uses zombies. Okay, other than these, of course, we also have other types of threats online. Again, it's something that you can read through your slides, but you can say that the definitions are quite long, right? But generally speaking, threats and cyber criminals, or other cyber criminals, cyber criminals can be divided into two parts. One are people who are computer savvy, right? And then another is computer who are computer so-so, right? So computer savvy people are, for example, crackers. I'll just write hackers first, right? Hacker. And then I write cracker in red because cracker are the bad people. They are the bad hackers, right? And then we have virus authors, right? And then the social people are people who are not that, might not be that good in computing, but they use whatever skills they have to actually commit crimes through the cyber world. For example, cyber stalkers, right? Or cyber bullies, or what else? We have swindlers. Swindlers are sweet talkers who cheat you into parting with your money. You just imagine like some kind of a pyramid scheme and someone is asking you to invest in it. So that's a swindler, right? Or shills, right? Shills are people who pretend to want to buy in an auction, meaning they work with the auctioneer, people who are selling things. They work so that they can drive the price up. They just put up their hand, pretend they want to buy something. So these are called shills, right? They pretend they want to buy something so that the price goes up, right? Shills and other crimes like salami shaving. Salami shaving is taking a little bit of money from a lot of people, right? And so there are lots of different kinds of criminals, which you can read through mostly from your book. Inside your slides, basically you just have the types of criminals, right? So if you read something and you feel interested, you can actually read through from your book or browse to the net, right? So next we are going to talk about what measures we can actually take to protect ourselves online.